Hey guys, today's diorama is going to be a little bit in the same vein as the last video. I had some furniture left over from the last set, so I'm going to use it as maybe another room in that same house or a similar house in that neighborhood. I'm using wallpaper this time, as you can see, and now I'm gluing in these windows. To glue down the wallpaper, I'm just using regular white glue and spreading it out nice and even, so when I put the wallpaper down, it usually seems to work without warping too much. For the floor this time, I'm using this felt material, and I'm going to glue it down and then fuzz it up with a wire brush to try to make it look a little more like a shag carpet or something like that. Now I'm using my airbrush to kind of darken different areas down to make it look maybe like it's old or stained in different places. I wet the wallpaper down a little bit, and then I'm using my tool to just rough up the edges just so it looks like the weather and age have been peeling back at the wallpaper. I'm not going to go into too much of how I did this curtain because I really don't think I'm very good at it, but I used some fabric, glued it in bunches so it looked like it was a little more of a heavy material that was folded like a normal curtain, and then tied it off halfway down and put it up. I used a 3D printer to print out this little part that I used as the hanger. And then I just glued them in place at the bottom as well so that they hang just like I want. I'm using some tea here to make some subtle stain water lines going down the wall. This worked, but it was really subtle, so I create extra weathering later as well. Now I'm using some brown pigment powder to dirty up these curtains a little bit more. To make this part nice and quick, I'm gluing on a piece of plastic that I got from a package, and this made it easy because I didn't have to deal with real glass and smaller pieces, and I decided not to break any of the windows this time anyway. Again, I'm using some basic molding for a dollhouse on the baseboards, and I mitered them in the corners so that they meet somewhat okay together, and I'm just gluing them in place. To really start weathering everything, I'm using brown pigment powder again, and I mix this with a little bit of rubbing alcohol as well so that it gets wet and it adheres very quickly. So I have two of these little sofas left over from that same furniture kit, and I'm painting them the nasty yellowish greenish color again, but I'm not going to rough them up quite as much as the last one. Oh, and they also have little pillows. This came in the set as well as one other little table, so I just painted them this red color, and now I'm weathering them and dirtying them up with brown pigment powder. For this one, I did kind of scrape off a little bit of the paint just to make it look like some of the paint was chipping off. This piece I found online as a free 3D model download, and I printed it out with my 3D printer. There were some mistakes made with the 3D printer, but because it's old and weathered and abandoned, I didn't mind. I gave it a coat of this red primer, and now, masking everything else off, I'm just coloring the screen with this gray, and I'm going to go in later with a little bit of a gloss finish so that it shines a little bit more than the rest. As you can see, pretty much everything in this diorama is getting the brown pigment powder treatment. Just really makes things look dirty, and it's so quick. I definitely could use various shades of pigment powders and things to make it more detailed, but this is so quick, and when I light it for the end video clips, it really blends in and looks pretty natural anyway. And here I added just a nice red colored ceiling molding that I really think tied the piece together. I printed out a ton of these little fake newspapers. I wanted papers to be kind of strewn about, and just started gluing them down on the floor and on this table here. And now I'm using just some watered down glue. This kind of did two things for me. It really did make the paper wet and the ink kind of bled, and so it looked like it had been there weathered for a long time, but it also glued them all together. This wall felt really empty, so instead of trying to find some pictures or something to put on it, I decided to make it look like it had been getting rain leaked in and running down for a long time. So I used some brown pigment powder at first and then went in with some green just to make it look like it was moldy and mossy. Then for the video, instead of using my normal haze in a can, I tried puffing in some baby powder to give it some more particles in the air. And this is how it turned out. As always, thanks for watching. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to see all my new projects. Thank you.